We know that that's coming from Russia. At the same time, we hear reports, I see Reuters is reporting that Russian mercenaries have been increasing their numbers along the Ukraine border. So that is people controlled by the Russian state, but not declared troops. So on the one hand, we have reports that Russia is pulling back, and on the other that they're stepping up. And at the same time, they're still massing warships and other capability around Ukraine. So this could be just classic Vladimir Putin messing with people, toying with expectations, playing cat and mouse with the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian president has said that since some people have named Thursday as Invasion Day, he's going to declare it National Unity Day and wants everybody to sing the anthem and display the flag in a moment of defiance. So really, Putin has everybody where he wants them, which is he's taken the initiative, he's created this crisis, he's got everybody guessing what his intentions are, he's sending mixed signals, and he's completely in control.
So how do we decide as to whether the imminency of this potential invasion is going away or that he might just be regrouping for another day?
Well, if Vladimir Putin has decided that, having, like the Grand Old Duke of York, marched his 10,000 men up to the top of the hill and he's going to march them down again, which would make him look weak and foolish, then that would be the first time in his political career as president that he has condescended to allow himself to be seen to be weak or foolish. He's all about the strongman autocrat. So I would suggest we should be very cautious before we jump to any conclusion that he's calling this quits, that he's walking away. He might be changing the nature of the aggression or the intimidation, but I think for him to walk away and admit that this has all just been a big piece of nothing, without having got, this is the critical thing, he has not got the key concession that he wanted from Ukraine and NATO and the West generally, and that is a promise that Ukraine would not join NATO or would not be accepted by NATO. He's very explicitly been repudiated on that by both the Ukrainian president and NATO and the US. So without having got that concession, for him to walk away now would make him look weak and foolish, and that would be a first. Yeah. So I think what the world is now waiting for are indications of the onset of hostilities. The Americans keep telling us that their intelligence is expecting a false flag operation or some sort of provocation along the border or from within Ukraine. We also keep hearing from analysts that the onset of kinetic hostilities would be signalled by an aggressive cyber attack which takes out Ukrainian capability, which is exactly what they did in 2014 when Russia attacked Ukraine. They took down large chunks of the power grid. We even hear the National Security Advisor of the United States, Jake Sullivan, saying that the precursor would be an aerial bombardment of Ukraine. So they're the sort of beginnings of hostilities that the world is now alert for.
What we do know is that other troops, Western troops, are unlikely to go into Ukraine, and clearly Australian troops would not be going into any theatre of war there. But Scott Morrison is using this to his advantage as we have an election just months away now. He's sort of really going on the attack and making this a political issue here.
Well, on your first point, you're exactly right. No country, no force is saying that it's prepared to intervene to protect Ukraine. Neither the US nor NATO, the UN is impotent. This, if Russia decides to invade, will be unopposed by anybody except for Ukraine itself. And the prospect of that, the spectre of that, is probably quite shocking for a lot of people who thought this sort of major state attack on its neighbours for territorial gain was something that belonged to the last century. And on your point about Scott Morrison, yes, he's not only pointing out daily, as he did in Question Time today again, the seriousness of the situation with Russia and Ukraine, he's going the next step and drawing the link with China. And today he said again what he said yesterday, and that is that China has yet to in any way denounce Russia's intimidation of Ukraine. He says China should be defending the sanctity of international borders. And unless China does that, that shows that China also is complicit in Russia's territorial ambitions. And then he does that to link the Russian threat to the Australian situation, to say, therefore, Australia's got to worry about China, even though we mightn't be near Russia or sending troops to Russia. We will nonetheless, we should feel vulnerable. Look at China's position, look at our position, and then it's only a short hop from there for him to say, don't trust the Labor Party because they won't defend you against China. They're soft on China, which of course not only does Labor repudiate vociferously, but on all the substantive decisions that the Morrison government has taken to stand up to China, to resist China's demands, the Labor Party has fully agreed with all of them in substance. So he's really working overtime to generate a policy difference which doesn't so far exist.
And Peter, if there were some form of military conflict in Ukraine, where do you think voters would move towards the Liberal Party or the Labor Party?
Well, the conventional wisdom, Bev, as you know, in Australian politics, is that each party should campaign on its areas of strength. The coalition should stick with economic management and national security because that's where the brand identification in the voters' minds is, and that the Labor Party should stick with its brand strengths of health, education, service delivery. Now, I don't think that necessarily applies. This is just my view. I think that this is contestable space, that either party, if it can show competence, show that it understands the situation, project confidence in dealing with the situation, and not only dealing with the diplomatic situation, and remember that Australia is not going to be committing any troops anywhere near the place. The main consequence, if it happens, in Australia will be economic. We will see petrol prices rising yet again. We will see food prices rising yet again. Ukraine and Russia are two of the world's major grain, wheat, barley exporters. Elevated inflation worldwide will go up again, and that will increase pressure on interest rates to go up further. So that would be an economic problem for Australia, and the Labor Party should be able to demonstrate and speak about calm, sensible, intelligent policy responses to deal with all that, just as well as the Liberal Party can, if it's smart enough, wise enough and deft enough to do it. And if it wants to win the election, it has to demonstrate that it can deal with crises. It can't just run away and hide.
Great to talk as always, Pete. Thanks so much.
Pleasure, Bev.